DLA night. Today I've got Derek E. Weeks, and we're going to be talking about his great book, Unfair Mindshare. Now, Derek, before I ask you where people can find you, I'm going to say something about your book. I've read a lot of books about community, and there are a lot of very good books on community, except yours does something quite different from all the others. It connects community with revenue. And as a CEO, for me, that's the secret sauce. So before we dig in and talk about it, Derek, where can people find you?
You know, the easiest place, Tim, to find me is where you found me, is on LinkedIn.
It is.
I am constantly on LinkedIn. I am open for followers and connection. Just DM me, and I try and respond to everyone there. So it's a great platform for connection. I also have a website, Unfair Mindshare. It has a lot of content. I blog there pretty regularly if you want to see some of that content, or pick up the book on Amazon. But LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
And I got this off Amazon, so you can.
Yeah.
And I've got a hardback copy.
Yeah, the coveted hardcover. That's it does come in paperback and Kindle as well. But yeah, I have to sign that for you someday.
Absolutely, you will do. I will want you to sign it if we get to meet. So Derek, to basically start patting ourselves on the back and get into this.
Yeah, let's dive
in. You basically, it's a really practical book. You take us through how you built how big was the community that you built?
It came to over 100,000 members. So
yeah.
it was pretty large.
Yeah, and you basically walk us through because you actually started off, was it saying you wanted that you sat in a meeting and said, let's build a community, and it was going to be
1,000 people.
1,000 people. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could get 1,000 people to participate, because when we look globally, there was not a group in this particular market segment.
It was to do with DevOps, wasn't it?
Yes, in the DevOps market segment. So the biggest gatherings in the community might be 600 or 800 people at that time. So by saying 1,000, we were already targeting something larger than what the community had seen before as a gathering and a place to learn from one another.
So walk us through what you did. So if I wanted to start a community tomorrow, what would I need to do?
Yeah, so there's kind of there's a path that we took, and we can walk through what that was, and it's covered in the book. But I often get this question of, Derek, like, I have a product or a company, or there's a kind of community of practice that I'm in for marketing people or civil engineers or cooks or whatever it might be. Should I start a community?
Yeah.
And the first question that I generally ask people is about, why do you want to start a community? What purpose will it serve? And beyond you talking about yourself or your company or your products that you want an audience for, what will the community get out of participation? And why will they show up and continue to show up? And those questions are very relevant.
Yeah. They are, because if you go to the end point of saying you've got 100,000 people in the community, the first thing that sales will say is, great, let's email them all.
Yes.
About our products and services.
Yeah.
And that's and print out the list, and we'll get Joanna to give them all a call.
Yeah. As much as we grew the community from 0 to over 100,000, and we had people that were managing the community and making sure that didn't happen, I can say that the pressure to do that was constant, especially as you have new people or new salespeople coming into an organization, or you're growing as a company. There are all these new people saying, wow, there's this big shiny thing over here. Let's completely leverage it for the sales and marketing motions. And I think there's a way to go about doing that appropriately that doesn't offend the community in the process. And probably not everyone in that large segment, if you will, is a target. But kind of going back to your initial question about, how do people start, is one, you really have to nail down the why the community would matter. For us, when we started this DevOps community, we had a very simple mission that we were going after. We understood that people wanted to be educated on DevOps, and they were seeking forums to do that. Local meetups, regional conferences, maybe there's a meetup of a DevOps Days event in their area, but there was no global scale that was doing this. And also, like, Tim, I might meet you at a DevOps conference, and I'd ask you, how many people at your company are doing DevOps or in a DevOps practice? And you might say, like, oh, there's 950 people back at my company doing DevOps, but only one is showing up at this event because we can't send everyone.
Yeah.
So we said, we're going to create a forum to educate everyone in the world on DevOps. We're going to do that for free, and we're not going to have vendor pitches as part of this. And the community is going to build all of the content for this. It wasn't our company or me as an individual. And we created a forum for that to happen, invited a bunch of people to share content and knowledge, and that attracted a huge audience. So that initial goal of, hey, in 90 days, we're going to pull something off as the kickoff of the community and 1,000 people will show up. That 90 days turned into 13,000 people showing up. And we knew we were onto something, and the community valued it, and we wanted to keep building from there.
Because one of the things that you did was, which was really interesting, was the fact that you knew that there would be one person would show up, but you knew that there'd be 900 people back at the office.
Yeah.
So what you were doing was setting up these, in effect, a remote where people were beaming this in. So all 900 people were able to watch what you were doing. But the classic marketing argument, well, we would want to collect all those emails. And you said, no, all 900 can watch, and we'll just have one person in our community.
Yeah, that's
it was so selfless.
Effectively, that's all that was required. And we told people that, Capital One called up one day and said, hey, do you mind if we broadcast this in our auditorium for all of the people working here? And do they all need to register? And, we said, no, they don't need to. But the registration for the content came in because we had 180 sessions going on over 24 hours in this conference. The registration came in to say, you can't absorb all the content there, at the moment, because we had 5 continuous tracks over 24 hours. So they would register to get the content on demand or sign into the Slack community that we had for the conversations. But one of the key things that we did, and you mentioned, was as we built the community and we wanted as many people as possible to benefit, is we said, Tim, register yourself, but then register your team or encourage your team to register and block off a meeting room, an auditorium, your cafeteria, what have you, and watch together, because we want all of you learning together. And imagine the huge benefit of going to any conference in your industry where you're trying to become better at the thing that you're doing, and you could get all of your company to go and attend for free. That worked at massive scale. That one year we had 4,000 people from State Farm Insurance participate. They simply kind of gave everyone the day off and said, we're all doing this as a company. Everyone in IT and software development is participating, and we're all going to learn together. And we didn't control them doing that, like what they were doing during their day, how they benefited, like the lessons that they were learning, how they implemented that inside the company, and the lessons learned. Like, that was all up to them. We were just creating this forum for education for them.
So you went through this process and created this community, and it's really interesting about how you kind of went up to the next level, because quite often what you were doing is you were just going out to people and saying, "Here's this free resource. Would it be useful to you?" And they'd say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So so it was a free resource. We made it available to everyone. The more participation we had in that, it benefited more people, because again, we weren't creating the content out there as a company and as the people managing the community. It was the community coming in saying, I have information that I want to share. And as soon as they came together and recognized there wasn't a vendor kind of driving pitches in this community, it attracted more people to share or exchange more content. And the community benefited from that. Oh, I know who to go to that has that knowledge. Let me, go and work with them. Now, we started off this conversation about, Derek, you connected this community effort to revenue. How do you do that?
Well, yes. So surely you were creating content, and everyone was seeing. Your company was pitching to all that 100,000 people, or you were cold calling that 100,000 people, or you were spamming those 100,000 people. Surely that's how it works.
No, that's exactly how not to do it. So if we somehow gathered 100,000 people all of a sudden into a community, and then we said, we're going to come here for education, meet people, learn from those people. There are no vendor pitches. And the very next day, we started vendor pitching you. You would be very off-put by that experience. And
I joined a RevOps Slack group, and within an hour, someone pitched to me their product.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to go there.
It doesn't feel good.
No.
Now, what
I had to go and wash my hands.
What we did with the community were more simple and maybe indirect things at the start. So let's say 100,000 people have come to this community. I'm going to set up a survey for the community. And it's not my company per se. I mean, my company is the one leading it, but I'm going to invite 5 of my friends from the industry. We're going to develop a survey on what we think will be interesting for the people in the community. So we build a community-based survey. We promote it out to the 100,000 people. We learn from those people and produce a survey report, which we then reveal to the community. So one part of doing that is, and we would have 5,000 or 6,000 people participate in the survey. So it was quite large and
fantastic.
Low margin of error when you get to that many people. Yeah. But that builds our brand, as the content that we were sharing helped build our brand as a thought leader. Yep. Now, having access to that data and producing that report, we made it available on our company website. You could go there and download it. It was often not gated, so that you could get that information. But we also took that, and I was, certainly one person that took the content and then built a webinar around it. And the webinar then is something that, people have to register to attend the webinar, or we would have people on our team apply to speak at a conference and talk about the survey results, which connected a person to our company and the brand, and then said, by the way, if you want to learn more about this topic, come and visit us at our booth at this conference, where you're scanning people and then converting them to leads. So there is a segment of the 100,000 that may pay more and more attention to the things that you're doing and be curious about what you're doing that you can bring into the fold. But you do that in a respectful, very clear way, that you're not trying to go out and have that RevOps interaction that you had about, wait, I thought I signed up for learning from my peers, and now there's a salesperson calling me an hour later. I didn't sign up for that kind of experience. So you have to be more, empathetic to your audience to build the trust and build the relationship with them and be helpful. And there were, probably out of say 30,000 people that went to a conference that we put on, we might reach out to 10% of those that actually were in the part of the industry that cared about the thing that we were doing. But it wasn't, go from a community to a sales pitch the next day kind of movement.
One of the things that you said that you did was also where you would run an event.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were doing is that you knew from your community who the good speakers were. And in effect, you were able to, because if someone is passionate, they'll be creating content, they'll be sharing that out, they'll be visible. So if you want to run an event in London, for example, and you need to have 20 speakers, you've got an ability to already to connect to those people. Now, the only way that a supplier would do that would be to get their VP of, there's a big US software house conference coming up in London in 2 weeks' time. And I know what it will be. It's the VP of development, the VP of this, the VP of this, all vendor pitches. And of course, they're just going to say how wonderful things are.
Yeah. And I think that's a key difference. And I do talk about it in the book, and I've blogged about it as well, is, Tim, if you're that company and you have an agenda and there's 10 speakers on it and 8 of them are from your company, and then 2 are your hand-picked reference customers. And I'm coming to London and I'm hosting an event in the same industry, but I've invited friends from the community that are knowledgeable about this space, that are not necessarily my customers and probably not, but they're sharing knowledge. And I'm the one gathering that level of knowledge and speakers. I'm probably going to get 3 or 4 times the attendance that you will, because people are seeking that helpfulness. And yet when those people are in the room, my company organized it, my company's leading the registration desk, my company's salespeople are in the room during cocktail hour, but you're building a relationship based on being helpful first versus, hey, come to this event where you're going to hear about our company and our products, and we're going to start selling to you. That works for a portion of the market, but I think you can build and attract larger audiences by integrating community more with your traditional demand gen kinds of activities.
Yes, and I think there are, for that, the US software company, if you've bought into that, in a way, what you're doing is you're probably going for updates, and that's important. But as you say, I think that, everybody, we all know that when we go to an event, as soon as we give our, my colleague, my business partner, Adam Gray, we went to an event and he made the mistake of giving his email to one of the vendors. He got 7 emails from them in an hour.
Yeah. And, I think it's just about, again, going back to the human-centric experiences. Who do you want to do business with? The person that's immediately pitching you, or the person that's just trying to help you learn and to form a relationship? And I think the relationships, sometimes, marketing teams and marketing engines are very transactional focused, and sales teams are transactional focused, and they're not trying to build a level of trust with their audiences. And I think it's not that you have to shift away from that. There's always a place for product pitches and information and sharing. Otherwise, you'd never sell a product at your company. So still, 80, 90% of your marketing effort can be based on that, but you can add an additional layer on, which is community and relationship building, that can grease the skids, if you will, for the latter conversations that you might have.
You said something in our preparation call where you said the marketing leader is to bridge and explain the connection between community and lead generation.
Yeah. That's really critical to understand as a marketing leader, that there are people that you have in your marketing team that are great at PR, that are great at demand gen, that are great at product marketing. And you can have people that are great at community. Now, a community person doesn't understand product marketing or demand gen, or PR doesn't understand, demand gen. Like, as a marketing leader, you have to take it upon yourself to provide and educate your team on the connective tissue that benefits everyone when those functions work together. And sometimes people say, oh, we have a community, but our marketing team or sales team doesn't understand what they're doing. They're just out talking to people at conferences and, the talking head of the brand. You have to, as a marketing leader, integrate all functions as you normally do. You normally integrate product marketing and demand and product-led growth, teams and digital demand teams and so forth. Community is just another part that you have to integrate into that overall balance of your go-to-market strategies.
Derek, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your book, Unfair Mindshare. Where can I get a copy? Well, I've already know it. If I wanted to get another copy, where would I get one?
On Amazon. So you can get it in Kindle, paperback, hardcover. It's available there. I'm sorry?
Or the hardcover edition that I've got.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for purchasing a copy.
You're welcome, Derek. Where can we find you?
Yeah, on LinkedIn. Again, that's the easiest place to find me. Just look at Derek Weeks Unfair Mindshare, and you can easily spot me there and connect.
Derek, thank you so much for coming in and talk to us. It's an excellent book. As you well know, I've recommended it to other people. So
I appreciate that. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.